Welcome back. Last December, Esquire magazine came out with a list of what they considered to be the best of the new generation, men and women under 40 who are changing America. Well, a member of the Channel 7 News team made that prestigious list. Meet Rigo Chacon.
They say the city simply hasn't done enough to prevent disasters like this one. The city, on the other hand, claims it has spent millions of dollars, but it's a tough, expensive fight against the powers of Mother Nature. In Alviso, Rigo Chacon, Channel 7 News.
Most of us are used to seeing Rigo Chacon report on Channel 7's news. Some of us may even know that he's KGO-TV's South Bay bureau chief. But few of us have ever seen Rigo Chacon, the family man, the single parent who's raising his two sons in the very same city where he grew up, San Jose. Recently, Rigo was selected as an honoree in the first annual edition of the Esquire Register. He was one of 272 select people, handpicked from 5,000 nominees who've been judged as being some of the best and the brightest men and women under 40 who are changing America. Rigo's place on the list was the result of his contributions in the field of social service. This same kind of concern for his community carries over into the stories that he covers in the news.
Ben, I know...
In 1976, Rigo reported on a story about Monica Rios, a little girl from San Jose who was reported kidnapped in Oakland. Rigo's tenacity and concern as a newsman took him on a 4-year journey, when in 1981 he reported her living in Mexico, a victim of child stealing by her very own father. It was this story that brought public attention to the tragedy of parental abductions.
Rigo is very involved, and he is a person who really cares about the people behind the news. So that out of that comes compassion and caring. He cares about kids a lot, and he does a lot of stories like that.
Fred Lacoste, now popular AM San Francisco host, was Rigo's first boss in the newsroom at television station KNTV in San Jose.
I discovered in Rigo a guy who was scared to death about reporting, because he had never been inside of a television studio before. But I sensed in him some great natural skills.
The best thing I could say about Rigo Chacon is I'd like to see him go to the network.
I think he's great.
For Rigo, choosing a news career happened very early in his life.
I decided to become a newsman when I was 12 years old. I think I was just intrigued by news, by information. I used to read all of Weekly Reader. I was into information from a very early age. I think if I had to say why did I decide to become a newsman, it's because I like information. I used to want to be president of the United States when I was a kid. I really did. I mean, I was serious. I wanted to be president of the United States. And then one day I found out I couldn't be because I was born in Mexico. So then somebody said, no, only one of your parents has to be born in the United States to qualify. And that's true. But my mother wasn't here the required number of years before she went to Mexico. So I can't run for president.
As a native of Chihuahua, Mexico, and the fourth of 9 children, Rigo recalls when times were tough, moving first to El Paso, Texas, and then eventually to San Jose, picking crops in the summer in order to survive.
We were farm workers. There were 9 kids. And my dad was, as an immigrant, not capable of finding a profession that can feed 9 kids. So he had to settle for labor. And labor wasn't enough, so he had to bring his children into that. And farm labor in California was the way to do that. We picked strawberries in Berryessa, we picked pears in Alviso, we picked pears in Agnew, picked prunes in Berryessa. Cherries in Campbell. I remember my knees bleeding. I was picking garlic. I was 13. I was picking garlic in Gilroy, and my knees were bleeding from the rough ground. And I remember thinking, the day will come when I will never do this again.
Today, Rigo's life is much different. As a successful television newsman, he carefully balances his professional life and private life. He raises his 2 sons, Javier, 11, and Rigo Jr., 18, at home in San Jose.
Being the South Bay bureau chief and being a single parent are 2 totally separate things. Being the South Bay bureau chief is a piece of cake. Being a parent is tough. Very seldom does my job interfere with my being a single parent, my being a parent. I get my kids up in the morning. We go through the morning routine of breakfast and getting ready for school. I drop one of them off at a grammar school campus, the other one off at a high school campus, and I go to work, and I'm the South Bay Bureau Chief. I find it tougher to be a parent because I'm a pushover. I find it tough to be tough. I really find it very hard to be tough on my kids. Thank God they're good kids.
But what about the future? Does he want his sons to follow in his footsteps?
I simply want for my kids something very basic. I want them to grow up to become what they want to become, as long as they enjoy it, as long as it's honest, and as long as they don't hurt anybody in the process. If they can do that, I don't care what they do.
And what about himself? Where does an award-winning news reporter, South Bay Bureau Chief, and community leader go from here?
If there were an opportunity, if the times were right to run for Congress, if Don Edwards were to retire, it would be a tough one to look the other way.